full of secrets, and the earth is full of adventures. Most of our extraordinary universe remains hidden. The world of the oak tree is in the heart of Europe. This is the treasure house of the continent, a primeval forest straight out of a fairy tale, menacing, fearsome, but also a dream of beauty. The heavy bodies of the giant trees give birth to gnomes, dragons, and other creatures of legend. This forest is a great storyteller. It is a maze that traps the imagination. The Reinhardswald forest in the middle of Germany is like a call from a past long forgotten. Those who enter here fall under the spell of the ancient trees. In the center of this fantastic Garden of Eden stands a quite extraordinary oak. This is the story of that tree and of its fellow forest giants. The mighty oak rises majestically, gnarled, hard, and full of dignity. It has been thus for 500, maybe 600 years. Its strong arms reach out as if to make contact with its neighbors. High up in the treetops, this jungle has plenty of inhabitants. Squirrels and jays make the oak tree their home. And these neighbors don't always get along. Conflicts are inevitable. The squirrel has to share his home tree with many others, including his natural enemies. Pine martens prefer to sleep in the hollow trunks of old oak trees. The gigantic trunk and the dense foliage make such an old forest giant an ideal meeting place, not only for animals. A forester watches over the older trees. He knows that they are priceless, and he is responsible for taking care of these aged monarchs. A small plaque asks visitors to show due respect. This tree is a monument. But who knows the secrets of the old oak? It lives a cloistered life, surrounded by a thick coat of towering trees. On the fringe of the forest, where the trees open up, stands a medieval castle, the Zauberburg. It is closely connected with the story of the ancient oak trees. Once upon a time, a tyrannical giant ruled over this castle, or so the story goes. For the last time, he had forbidden his daughter, Margareta, to see Kuno, his neighbor's son. But the giant's daughter was so desperately in love that she ignored all her angry father's warnings, a decision that was to have fatal consequences. Margareta was waiting for her lover. The giant found out that his daughter had fled. And disaster took its course. The giant's wrath fell on both of them. He transformed the young lover Kuno into an oak tree. And the giant also laid a curse on Margareta, his own daughter. Margareta was conjured into unyielding wood and has remained in that form to this very day, still waiting for release. And until he died, Kuno tried to reach out and touch his beloved with his wooden arms, but it was all in vain. But that's not the only legend about the mighty oak forest. There is yet another explanation of its origins. In the deep Middle Ages, swineherds kept pigs in the forest and observed their behavior. The hungry animals found the best food under the great oaks. After all, manufactured pig feed and potato peelings did not exist in those days. This wild, bristling species was equipped with a thick pelt and a sturdy skull. Predators respected the greedy wild boars. With the swineherd's help, the pigs found what they were looking for: acorns. The fruit of the oak tree gave the beasts strength and imparted the desired flavor to their flesh, which accounts for the saying that the best hams hang from oak trees. In a forest like this, oak tree Margareta was born. She survived through her first year of life without being grazed or trampled on by animals. Under the sheltering canopy of her huge family members, the young oak tree grew up. She had enough space and light as she developed her own tough, gnarled personality. Today, the forest giants form a backdrop for fun-seeking wanderers with 2 and 4 legs. Hardly any of them notice what secrets the old oaks are still keeping. Dead oaks carry messages from the past. In gravel pits, researchers can still excavate ancient oak trunks. Michael Friedrich takes a keen interest in the preservation of fossilized wood. His timber archive in the Dendro Laboratory at Stuttgart's Hohenheim University is unique. It's a treasure house of long-dead wood and all the stories it can tell. Michael Friedrich is the lord of the tree rings. He can read dead wood like a book. Like a forensic pathologist, the dendrochronologist dissects the corpses of trees. He is looking for telltale signs of climatic changes and catastrophes. Chalk reveals the history of the tree by making the annual growth rings visible, even after 10,000 years. Thickness, shape, and color of the veins in the wood reveal the growth pattern of a tree. Rainy periods and drought years are identified in the annual growth rings with the certainty of a fingerprint. Friedrich can uncover the life story of the old tree right down to an interval of 6 months. The tree scientist has established concurrent developments in various regions of Germany. It is now clear that the last ice age came to an abrupt end, and that there have always been large temperature swings. Thanks to all these fossil wood samples, we now have an unbroken climatic record from the Ice Age up to the present day. It is impossible to establish the exact age of this forest oak because the trunk is hollow and it lacks a complete set of growth rings. But one thing is definite: this tree is long past its prime. Each storm that shakes it could mean the end. The wind tests the old giants. Some of them will be sacrificed. The forest doesn't keep its age a secret. There is no pretty disguise. Trees live in dignity and die. After their death, a host of hidden creatures lives off the rotting timber. This is the bizarre playground of the scavengers. Grubs, worms, and beetles devour leaves, branches, and roots. Thanks to their appetites, the molecular building blocks of life come back into the life cycle of the forest. They are preparing the ground for something new. A pitiless struggle for survival goes on in the upper reaches of the oak tree. The vegetarian squirrel is on the lookout for the carnivorous pine marten. In the humid late summer, a host of species becomes apparent. Mushrooms sprout from the dead wood. They also contribute to the rotting away of the giant tree and declare their triumph in gaudy colors. Mist draws a veil over the great trunks, as if to conceal what will soon be happening. Cold nights and shorter days are resetting the forest's inner clock. Now the strongest forest dwellers come into their own. Red deer. These forest kings are in rut and looking for a fight. The combat ends without loss of blood. The stag with the thickest skull falls heir to a harem of does. The victorious stag spreads his genetic legacy. These noisy ritual combats last for only a few weeks, then peace comes to the forest once more. Now the oak trees are decked in all the glory of their autumnal colors. They are preparing to hibernate and shed their leaves day by day, week by week. The green foliage gives way to newer, warmer colors. The animals have interpreted these signs correctly and make preparations. The jay gathers ripe acorns round the clock, storing them for the lean times that lie ahead. It's hard work, this instinctive behavior, and the bird responds in the right way. She can carry 7 acorns in her crop at the same time. She buries them in another place, and many of them will never be unearthed. The squirrel's instinct also reacts correctly. He gathers the acorns and hides them. The second part of his hide-and-seek game comes later. December. We are far from the Reinhardswald in the Abruzzo Mountains of Italy. This man doesn't want to be seen. He doesn't want to give himself away. That's why he works under the cover of darkness. He's out with his hound under the oak trees, hunting something that's very, very valuable. The Abruzzo region is a paradise for a truffle hunter like Terenzio Benacquista. He's after the black gold of the oak forest. Fist-sized fungi that grow hidden under the soil of a thinned-out forest in the mountains. The areas where truffles grow are kept as family secrets. The hunter and his hounds have been up for a long time since the hunt began in the early hours of the morning. These sniffer dogs have undergone a special and costly training as truffle hounds. They cannot see the truffles where they lay hidden half a meter below the surface. It's the distinctive aroma that betrays their presence. The truffles grow near oak tree roots and resemble a misshapen potato or a smooth lump of coke. Terenzio is holding a couple of €100 in his hand. Gourmets will pay high prices for this not very attractive looking oak fungus with its unmistakable aroma. Soon, this truffle will land up in the kitchen of a restaurant in the neighboring village. In the meantime, up north, the Reinhardswald is powdered with snow. The trees have long since shed their leaves and stored up important nutrients in their inner tissues. The enchanted forest has undergone a complete makeover. The frost affects everything. The pine marten is hungry too and hunting for prey. Like a white blanket covering a sleeper, the snow lies on the bare oak trees. Few people pass this way now, but the forester still keeps an eye on his charges. The oaks display their strange beauty, clad in high contrast black and white. The squirrel doesn't sleep through winter. He seeks out the many acorns he has stored up during the autumn. These emergency rations come in very useful at this stage, although only a fraction of the hidden acorn hoard is ever rediscovered. The jay is also on the way to collect his share. From the forgotten acorns, new oak trees will later germinate. In winter, the dormant trees come under threat. This is the season of the chainsaw. These trees, range slender and straight in a commercial plantation, measured for circumference and cubic meters of timber, are living out their final days. It takes only 5 minutes to seal the fate of a 150-year-old oak tree. This is a fate that all the crooked and twisted trees will escape. Oak timber is sought after. This South German industry has an antique flavor as artisans sweat and strive to convert a huge oak trunk into something useful. It takes iron, steel, and plenty of elbow grease to overcome this wooden colossus. The cogs of the sawmill rotate just like clockwork. Time is running out for the great tree trunks. Laboriously, the screaming saw blade cuts a path through the tree's inner life. Demand is high, as always. Oak has a good reputation. It's resistant, stable, and long-lasting. For centuries, it has been treasured as a building material. But in the Reinhardswald, there is no shortage of oak trees. That's because the forest was declared a protected area. This is how the oak tree lives through countless springs, together with its symbionts, its hangers-on. A tree with bare branches cannot successfully shelter any animals, but it won't be much longer before the oak begins displaying a new canopy. It's April, and all the tree's energy is diverted to the production of leaves, spread out like a vast umbrella to catch the sunlight. The color green signifies new life, 1,000 times over, many thousand times. The flowers of the oak are insignificant and tiny. Measured in millimeters, they have all the necessary genetic material within them to create a forest giant. The female flowers stand out separately from the hanging male blooms in great numbers on the same branch. The wind pollinates the flowers. New life has also arisen inside the oak tree. The young pine martens find warmth and security at their mother's side. Only 2 weeks old, these blind baby martens are truly helpless. They must stay with their mother all the time. The hollow of the oak serves as a well-nigh perfect nursery for them. In here, nothing disturbs the idyllic family life. Outside, the jay uses the sheltering arms of the oak tree. Hidden away among the branches, she builds her nest, lined with twigs, ready for the next generation to herald its arrival. Life and death in an oak forest is always full of surprises. Woodsmen accompany Micah Kaur into the forest. The young researcher works for the Department of Forestry, and she specializes in old trees. An arrow is fired up into the highest part of the oak tree's canopy, where leaf samples will provide data for the researcher's study of the damage caused by air pollution. This much is known. Old trees are more resistant than young ones. They are less affected by toxic substances in the air, according to Micah Kaur's chemical laboratory results. This old oak seems in good condition after hundreds of years. And in its old age, it's getting to know a new inhabitant. Raccoons have conquered the forest. 70 years ago, their ancestors were released in the area. For these furry creatures, old trees are ideal hosts. Even if they're not very good at climbing trees, the raccoons gratefully use the hollow trunks as places to sleep. The foliage crowns of deciduous trees are always of great interest. Until recently, the topmost layer was the province of the insects. Very little is known about this ecosystem. The treetops were always very inaccessible. That is, until now. An airborne laboratory floats over this forest near Leipzig. Spurred on by his curiosity, the pioneering research scientist Andreas Florin of the University of Würzburg is hunting the animal species of the upper foliage layers with the assistance of his pilot. The zoologist has set out a number of traps, and he floats just above the treetops all day long. Florin is anxious to know what his traps have captured. It's a daring way to increase human knowledge. This kind of adventure has become routine for Florin, but he has no imitators. Reaching down from his 40-meter-long hot air dirigible, he collects the traps. He has found that the treetops of the Central European deciduous forest are the habitat of a multitude of smaller insects. Some of them were the first examples Florin had ever seen in Europe. He has even discovered new kinds of beetle, and he is now zeroing in on the food chain of the treetops. We still have much to learn about what goes on up in the treetops, but we know more about activity on the forest floor. These wood ants are preparing for an attack, and the jay has the defensive insects in his sights. He sprays the angry ants with a disinfectant. This chemical antidote to the ant's formic acid keeps bothersome invaders off his feathers. The bird's natural pharmacopoeia frees him from the insect plague. And the oak itself has problems too. The hard bark ruptures from time to time in summer, and the tree bleeds. This sap attracts hungry butterflies to the oozing trunk. Through their fine proboscides, they suck up mineral trace elements. On the outside, there is no sign of the hectic activity within the tree. Sap vessels transport water to the extremities of the tree. When one considers the amount of fluid and the height to which it is lifted, one might say the oak tree defies gravity. The water's long journey ends in the cells, the factories of the leaves. Here, the dancing chloroplasts synthesize sucrose. The byproduct is oxygen, which is exhaled to the outside through the stomata, openings in the leaves. These tiny pores emit life-giving air into the environment. Bitter-tasting tannic acid protects the leaves from grazing species. Almost all of them. Deer graze on the leaves, especially when they have their own young to look after. They show no respect to oak trees, young or old. At one time, it seemed that the wonders of the forest would be forgotten, had it not been for someone who awoke the sleeping beauty of the woods. In 1907, Theodor Rochel trekked through the wilderness, and this painter rediscovered the magic of the forest. His skilled hand and draftsmanship forcefully captured the spirit of the oaks in oils. In the veteran oaks, Rochel could see worthy characters, not just old wood. The enchantment that was captured by Rochel's brush finally resulted in the forest being declared a protected area. Not so much as a painter's reserve, but as a paradise for the eyes. And today, the forest has become a nature reserve, which anyone may visit. The forest is a place where city dwellers come to renew their souls. They want to rediscover what they believed was lost. The guide leads the visitors into the cathedral aisles of giant trees. But some of them show no respect and leave their marks on the forest. Nowadays, the woods cannot regenerate as fast as they did before because they are constantly visited. Peace and quiet don't last very long. The trees are also subject to insect damage. One of the 500 insect species which live in the upper layers is the voracious June bug, who rarely travels alone. Temporarily, the oaks take a heavy knock. This is a 1,000-year-old war with a winner and a loser. The oak tree passively resists the creepy-crawly invaders, falling back on inner reserves. After sunset, it's the time of the nocturnal species. A hedgehog leaves his hiding place. At the foot of an oak tree, he hungrily hunts for insects and snails. The deciduous forest always provides for the bottom feeder. From above, a furry-faced goblin frightens the hedgehog away. The crackling and rustles in the branches make the hedgehog uneasy, so he decides to up the stakes and find himself some new premises. It was a dormouse making all that noise. He lives in the branches of the oak tree. In the upper branches, there's room for those who hunt by night. Bats swarm through the branches as soon as it's dark. They fly silently, using ultrasound to navigate as they hunt down moths and beetles. Oak forests have their own magic, something special, which is also worth hard cash. And even today, far away from the protected Reinhardswald, oak trees are used as a source of raw material. In the deciduous forests of Luxembourg, people sharpen their knives. Anton Bock works with the bark from slim young oaks. He's one of the last rind peelers, cutting the bark from 30-year-old oaks with his special tools. Oak bark contains valuable acids which are used to this day in the tanning of leather. The bark is chopped and shredded. In the same way it was done centuries ago, the bark of thousands of oaks has passed through this leather tanning plant. The costly raw material accumulates into a pyramid of oak scrap. Cowhides are tanned into leather, submerged in stinking pits. Under the feet of this tanner, there are almost 200 pits. They are full to the brim with a mixture of bark scrap, water, and cowhide. The techniques used here come straight down from the Middle Ages. The pits are 3 meters deep and completely lined with oaken planks. No chemicals are used on the unhaired, cleaned cowhides. Hundreds of hides are tanned in a single pit. The tannic acid that comes from the oak bark, dissolved in the water, makes for a strong, durable leather. The chemical process takes months to be completed. As the leather dries in ventilated storage racks, it becomes hard and stiff. It's ideal for top-quality shoe soles, but it doesn't come cheap. This is no model factory in a museum, but the point of origin of a quality product. It's tailored for the customer without having any ill effects on the environment. The tanned leather gets its seal of quality because it's something unique, thanks to the oak tree. In the Reinhardswald, the trees keep their bark on. These oaks are used as dwelling places by certain animal species. Meanwhile, the squirrels have produced offspring. Blind babies that spend most of their time fast asleep, cradled by a hollow tree. The oak tree symbolized dignity, wisdom, and the link between heaven and earth. The Germanic people revered the oak because it was also associated with the rain-making plant god Donar. To ensure a rich harvest, they would make offerings to Donar. Sacred oak woods were off limits. No one dared enter. It was taboo to break off an oak branch, and if this happened, it was regarded as an ill omen. Deep in the hidden heart of the forest, the men would make sacrifices to the forest giants. Oak trees could decide between life and death. The Germanic tribes sensed the immense power of these tough giants. The oak tree may not be sacred these days, but at least it's protected. In the meantime, the oak trees are in fruit, putting out acorns under the warm summer sun. A sparrow finds a place to rest in the thick foliage. The tree provides many species with an idyllic retreat. The jay has one surviving chick and is looking after it. The fledgling has a big appetite, but he's unable to pick worms for himself, so he gives his mother a lot of work. She's kept busy feeding him all day long. At the same time, the young martins are ready for their first exercises. They discover that not all is firm underfoot in the branches of their home. Far away from the Reinhardswald, stag beetles and hornets collect on a tree that's exuding sap. The bugs in this wood don't know it, but they're not alone. In fact, they're about to advance the cause of science. Biologist Klaus Kretschmer collects the beetles, measures them, and marks them. He is keenly interested in the numbers and variations in the population of the intimidating stag beetle. He wants to know when and if the clumsy flyers will disperse. The curious Kretschmer observes marked beetles in the wild, but takes some of them back to the lab. Here at the Wesel Biological Research Institute, he prepares his catch. To temporarily anesthetize his subject, he uses a whiff of carbon dioxide. It doesn't hurt the beetles, but renders them unconscious for a couple of minutes. Then the biologist bugs the bugs. He glues tiny rucksacks to his chosen subjects, some on the belly, others on the back. They contain miniature radio beacons. From now on, the beetle will be broadcasting his whereabouts, no matter where he may wander. Kretschmer will set him free and track him down later. England has some old oak forests too. One particular tree is the cause of a tourist boom. It's reputed to be the hiding place of the legendary Robin Hood. This is the most photographed oak tree in the world. According to the legend, it was here that Robin's men ambushed the Sheriff of Nottingham. Robin Hood's men stole money from the rich and gave it to the poor, and they hid it in a great oak in the dark forest. That was in the 11th century. Today, Robin's descendants care for the legendary oak in Sherwood Forest. There are no horses these days, only electric golf carts. Now, the tree itself has become the hero. Every day, park rangers like Izzy Banton keep an eye on the major oak, the one Robin used as a hiding place. This fabled tree is 1,000 years old, or so they say. For the last 100 years, it has been necessary to hold it together with chains and prop it up with iron crutches. Nor is the hollow tree really in good health. But Izzy Banton is still looking after the future of the mighty legend. Any acorns produced by this tree are systematically planted because she's hoping that the old oak will leave a youngster to grow up into another stately tree. Meanwhile, back in the land of the stag beetles, Klaus Kretschmer is tracking down his bugged prey. He's waving his antenna around, hoping to pick up signals from the giant insects he released in this wood on the Lower Rhine. Without all this radio technology, it would be like looking for a beetle in a haystack. It has been established that stag beetles can fly a couple of kilometers non-stop. That way, perhaps these radio-located flying objects have a better chance of finding a mate and multiplying. That's what Kretschmer discovered with his Bug the Bugs radio surveillance program. By July or August, the forest idyll is over. The stag beetle's days are numbered. Its life is short anyway, measured in weeks. The adult beetles have reproduced, so their lives have fulfilled their purpose. The law of nature is as simple as that. The last old forests are endangered. Wind and weather can harm them, even here in the Reinhardswald. All the tree dwellers run down the turn. The tension of the hot summer days is discharged in heavy thunderstorms. The rain has great cleansing power. The leaves are rinsed free of the dust that settled on them in the dry days of high summer. In the forest, the trees shield each other from the energy of the wind, and then an even more violent storm leaves its mark. The power from above wasn't exerted for long, but it was strong enough to alter the wood. The storm sweeps away what cannot stand fast. This tree has toppled, but close by, this old oak has survived. The storm has affected it, and who knows for how much longer it will be able to go on providing shelter for its many inhabitants. The squirrel, the jay, they had all better make friends with a new old oak tree, a new source of hope for the future. A competitor for the pine marten. The lynx, a beautiful species of wildcat, has been on the prowl in the thickest part of the forest during the last few years. There have been sightings, but nobody knows where the lynxes came from. Once upon a time, these elegant felines knew the old oaks well during the tree's long, long childhood. Perhaps this returning species is proof that the original spirit lives on in the Reinhardswald, a treasure house in the midst of which there stands a 500-year-old oak. Yet another year in the long life of this ancient oak is over, a time full of adventure and discovery. a year full of stories centered on this quite extraordinary species of tree. The secrets of life lie hidden in small things as well as great. And a life without oak trees and their world would leave us so much poorer on our rich blue planet Earth.